Hi, I'm Peter Cowan, the Bee Whisperer. Today is Tuesday, July 22nd, and we're currently in my Monroe yard. And I have been here now for almost 2 weeks, I think it was. And we're going to check to see how progress is. And take the opportunity to do a bit of weed whacking as well. As you can see in the yard here, need a bit of clearing up. But last time we were here, there's a little bit of a honey flow. Hoping that continued enough just to put a bit of honey in the supers. But as usual, my priority is more health of the hives and the brood rather than honey. If I get some honey this spring, that's a bonus, but not really expecting much. You see some activity in front of the hives, and that's a good sign. We're at about 9:30 in the morning, so if they're active at 9:30 in the morning, that's a sign that we probably have some nectar flow. Okay, as usual, start over this end. We had a little bit of rain the other day. Let's look at the entrances. It's always a good idea to start that way. You can see the hive on the right. We'll come over here a bit more so we're not casting a shadow on it. But we've got a lot of fanning activity there. Often you see it biased towards one side, so hive on the left, the fanning is concentrated on the left hand side. It's also concentrated on the left hand side on the white hive, but that's a sign that they're certainly curing honey. It was a cool night, high 40s, low 50s, nice dry weather, but hopefully we'll see that they've made a bit of honey as well. I've been around all of the yards now and sampled for the first time every single one of my hives. There's over 100 colonies, which took a while, but I was sort of following what Randy Oliver had been doing on his yards, and it was actually very, very eye-opening, because as a biologist I'd typically be used to doing what we call representative samples, and you'd sample a certain number of hives in a group, or a certain number of subject matters in a group, and you'd hope that a representative sample would represent what's actually going on in the yard as a whole. And I've come to the conclusion that in bee yards there's no such thing as a representative sample. You'd have lots of zeros, lots of ones, maybe lots of twos, then you'd have a 7 and a 12. Or you'd have lots of 2s and 3s and that sort of thing, and zeros and ones, but then you'd have outliers with an 18 or something like that. And so each of those would be mite bombs. These would be things that you would miss if you weren't sampling all the hives. And so what I've done this year, as opposed to treating every hive the same, if I had zeros, I'm leaving them untreated. If I had 1s, 2s, 3s, I was using Viroxan, and if I had higher than that, I was using Formic Pro. So the Formic Pro to knock the mites right down, Viroxan to hold the mite levels for the next couple of months like that, and the zeros to see if they kept on being zeros. So that's what we've done with the mites. It's about 2 to 3 weeks on average since most of my mite treatments are done. Might be a good idea to do some sampling soon to see how those treatments worked. But anyway, right now what we're going to do is have a look at this hive. This one, I treated it on July the 8th with Formic Pro. This actually had 3 mites, so I was a bit rigorous with this one. We did a mite treatment with only a Formic Pro treatment with only 3 mites in it. also put a honey super on at that time. And whilst there is wax up here, there is not a lot of white here, so it doesn't look like there has been a significant honey flow in the last 2 days. Anyway, mind you, having said that, after Formic Pro treatment, it often is a bit, Formic Pro treatment's only just finished, so that can actually slow things down somewhat. But let's see what this empty honey super has done in that time. We've certainly got some honey. The frame is full of honey. And they're even capping some of it. So that's not bad, but it's not white wax, it's all travel stained. So to me, this tells me that the honey flow was probably several days ago, at least from the nectar sources that this hive produced. And of course, there's a big difference, just like there's a big difference in mite levels between hives. There's a big difference between colonies that find a nectar source and the colonies that don't. So, some honey there. I'd say that box is probably going to be half full, actually. So I'm going to just do a quick look around for honey. Bees are certainly occupying up here, but again, I don't see anything bright white. If it was bright white, the nectar flow would be on right now, or at least they were curing honey right now. This is not very full, so they're probably bees occupying it, but I don't think there's much going on in there. We're normally in the dearth. The last few years, we've had dearth starting the first week of July. This year definitely was later than that. But I think in most places the dearth is well and truly started now. Okay, this colony is building up. A lot of these colonies were small and they're building up now. I'm interested in seeing what that hive's doing at the moment, because got a lot of activity at that entrance. Nope, just getting there. Okay, this one, which also, as it happened, had 0 mites. This was the Sassafras hive, July 7th, had 0 mites. And put a comb honey super on it. This one. This would have been there beforehand. Now look, we do have more white here. The whiter it is, the more recent that wax has been built. But it's not full of white. It's not enormously, not overpoweringly white comb with new wax. Let's see what the comb honey. But there's plenty of honey in this. There we go. Oh, they're building wax, filling it with honey. Very, very light coloured honey. So there has been certainly activity. You can see plenty of white comb in this. It's all brand new comb. So I hope they can continue with that. With this comb honey, as opposed to the pre-made, pre-cut samples, we just let them build this out in natural comb. We put a little starter strip of foundation in there, fill it up, cap it, and then I just cut it out of the frame and drain it and package it. It's, I think, found the most reliable way of making comb honey with the minimum chances of them swarming, which has always been the bane of comb honey production for me. Whenever I used a comb honey kit, I invariably was getting swarms. So my mentor Harold Swan told me this is the way he did it. And so since I've been doing that, swarming has not been a big issue for my hives producing comb honey. Yeah, not a lot going on that one. These ones have found a bit of honey, a bit of nectar rather, some white comb there. That's good. I don't expect this is going to continue for very long. Having said that, on the wet drive here, we're certainly noticing the goldenrod looking a bit yellow. I don't typically find goldenrod producing much nectar in the first half of the goldenrod bloom, but second half is usually when things happen. We're still having some stuff happening here though, which is nice. So, plenty of bees. These ones don't look very full, but you can tell that they are still have put a reasonable amount of honey in it, but probably mostly last week. That frame is 2/3 full of honey, not capped, but looks lovely, lovely light colored honey. I just noticed back here one of these supers needs moving across. Could end up with a not a lot. Certainly don't need more room. With my beekeeping, because I sell nukes, most of these hives are only nukes in beginning of June. So it's I'm very pleased with how well they've done, considering, because I usually very often miss the honey flow to start with. This is a colony where it's now double deep, and it could actually probably do with a bit of room, because I don't want the brood chamber to become full. The outside comb here is getting drawn. So this is one that I'm going to put a queen excluder on and a honey super. I'm not expecting them to fill the honey super, but what I don't want them to do is be crowded. So if they do need the room, they can move some of the nectar up into that empty super. I got the room. I'll be pleasantly surprised if there's much honey in this super next week, but I know I'm taking some of the pressure off the brood chamber. Still got space they're not working on here, but they do have some white, which is definitely a good sign. I would guesstimate a fruit super like this is going to be about 2/3 full. But because we're in the Dearth, I'm not going to overdo it, the supering yet. Stuck to the bottom there. Yeah, that's it. It's 2/3 full. Brood chamber is looking healthy. Plenty of capped honey in the brood chamber as well. Yeah, I really don't think there's much of a honey flow on right now, so I don't think I'm going to put too many supers on. This one looks fairly empty. In comparison, you just tell by the activity at the top. And yeah, there's about 10 pounds, maybe 15 in there. It's about quarter to a third full in there, as opposed to the other one's about 2/3 full. This is just about empty, this super. Well, they're just getting into it. Important thing is that the brood chamber is doing well. Or at least the upper box of the brood chamber. This is becoming a honey super, so as the brood is back, because I've got a queen excluder down here, as the brood's emerging here, they're back filling this deep with honey, which may be it could be that the honey flow is higher than I'm thinking, because these hives that have been changed from 2 brood chambers to a single brood chamber, which I did when I did the mite treatments, as the brood is back filling, or in other words, as the brood's emerging down here, let me show you what I mean. There would have been brood in this upper brood chamber 2 weeks ago, and I put a queen excluder on, having shaken the queen down to the lower chamber. And whilst there probably is still some brood in here, as it emerges, it's getting back filled with honey. So, not tremendously though, this one. The brood is emerging, but I don't see much backfilling going on there. There's a bit of backfilling going on here, but not much. This is a real sign that the honey flow is died off quite a bit here, because all this brood that's emerged, the honey it's not getting backfilled. And in fact, one of the things you can see here is that we have empty cells right up to the edge of the honey. Then you've got capped honey. And so this is a sign that they're actually consuming the liquid honey and or moving it further down, because the capped honey like this is long-term storage. Open honey or open nectar is short-term storage, or it's the stuff that they can use right away. So when you've got empty cells right up against the capped honey, you've got a clear sign that you're in the dearth, because they're eating up or moving away the stuff that has already been, that was only temporary storage in there, and they're utilizing it like this stuff here. They're actually using that honey. They're not putting it there, they're actually using it. We were just talking about this in the car on the way here, weren't we? No, maybe when the goldenrod starts coming, this will all get backfilled properly. time we did a treatment here, they had swarm cells which have been cut out, but looking at the population there, it looks pretty good. They've been storing honey, and I don't think we lost the swarm from this hive. It's nice to see. Even this big hive had an extra honey super put on, and this has not been touched. So even though it's got the bigger field force, there's no honey in that. They've continued to put honey in here, but there's nothing new. You can see how travel stained the wax is here. We certainly don't have any honey flow going on here right now. And from the signs of that last frame that we looked at where they're consuming it, they'll be starting to eat up the honey that we put here. So if we really wanted to maximize honey production, we should take the honey supers off now, because I'll bet when we come back in 2 weeks, these supers that are half full of open honey are going to be half empty, because the honey's going to have been moved down into the brood chamber. So a lot of folks wonder why all the honey that they saw in early July in the supers has disappeared. All the bees are moving it around because there's nothing else coming in right now. And again, just growing. You really do with a little bit of feeding. Okay, we will be moving on to our other yards once I know pointed to me. Okay, so honey flow is finished in this yard. So what we're going to do is go and see another yard, and that one's going to need feeding because they only just got their brood chambers on relatively late, and the second brood chamber, and I'm pretty darn sure they won't have grown much because the honey flows there should be very similar to here. It's only 4 or 5 miles away. So let's go and see them. Okay, so we are now at one of the newer Monroe yards, where we relocated this farm this spring just to keep the bees out of the way. And we've got 16 hives here, half Saskatraz, half Golden West, and they're not very big. When I last looked at them, the majority had the bottom brood box built out and the top brood box only really just getting going. Maybe a frame or two of brood in the top. So I'm not expecting any to need honey supers at the moment because the honey flow is dying down, and I'm very sure also that we will feed this yard just to get that upper brood chamber built. Let's have a quick look in there. Saskatraz. Oh, not bad. A lot of this, they've had a fair amount of drawn comb and it's been checkerboarded. And the checkerboard is working. So they're getting some comb built, but things look dry in here. I don't see any signs of honey flow here at all. Look at the Golden West. I think these are the weaker ones. Yeah, very small one, this one. This one's showing some signs that they've got into some honey. In fact, this one I think I wouldn't hurt by putting a honey super on this one. Good. Now, I only expect the very strongest ones to be that, so that'll get a honey super. Let's have a look around. Got a frame that's still just foundation here. I think I'll stick that in the middle. Over a bit. I'll put a honey super on this one too, why not? No, that's got a way to go. Nope. Tell this one won't. Closer, but not enough that needs any space. So we've got three empty combs in there yet. Nope, they look good. Long way to go. Some of them had a lot of foundation to go. Yeah, that one will take one. I'll put a honey super on that one. Coming along. Let's get there. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. So this yard is my newest yard. It's I call it my Monroe Road yard, and on this one we used to have a whole load of nukes. So they were all 2-story nukes. There was 30 of them, and I used that to provide brood to build up other yards just as I was making up my nukes. So I kept on taking a couple of frames of brood out, 10 days, another couple of frames of brood out to make nukes. Stopped doing that about a month ago, and about 2 weeks ago we combined a lot of the nukes together to leave us with 16 colonies here, now all in double deeps. And to some extent the queens were fighting it out, but just to consolidate to see what we've got. And so some of these colonies, they're going to need equalizing. Some of them are fairly strong, some of them are not so strong, but we're in the middle of a dearth right now, so we're going to put some feed on them. But also I'm just going to peek in for the first time to see how these nukes are looking. So if I can find a hive tool, good. Smoke has gone out, we'll not worry about that. See, they are making use of the feeders we put out there. And I agree, open feeding is not the best way to feed bees, but it's an effective way to feed bees. But still, they're making some use of the food in here. And we'll put another 10 gallons or so in here. But now this is a sure sign that we have a dearth on, that they're feeding from the feeders. So I'll have a quick look in some of these. I've got a little way to go. This hive has some rock sand strips in. There's a lot of comb to be built. That's another reason why we want to feed them. They've got a lot of foundation in some of these hives, just like the last yard. This one's close to being fully built. Not quite. The foundation to go on it yet. Still letting these hives settle, and then we'll go through, do another mite check, see how the queens are, because one of the issues of combining 2 colonies of roughly equal strength without using the newspaper method is that you could end up with no queen rather than just 1 queen. So we shall see how that goes. As long as we've got some brood going in them, should be good. Looking nice. A few specks of white in there, which is nice. Building a bit of wax. Be good once we get a honey flow here. On the roadside around here we have lots of bamboo, so in about 3 weeks or so we'll be getting a bamboo honey flow here. I was hoping we'd have rather more white clover in this field here. Not so great white clover wise, but the whole area generally is very mixed, so lots of wildflower, lots of that sort of thing. So it should have a decent fall honey flow here with goldenrod and that sort of thing in the more established fields. Hopefully next year be a bit more white clover in this field. Not much going on in here, I can already tell. Very little. Say, could do with a little bit of equalizing, but that's not what we're here to do today. Some of these colonies have only got one nuke in there because it was a strong nuke, so the bottom is full. Like this one, this is full of mostly foundation that they're busy looking at here. This is a single nuke, not a combination of nukes in that one, I think. Yeah, pretty much of a muchness ranging from about 2 frames of bees to 8 frames of bees in the upper brood chamber. Well, you can tell that's going to be small. I didn't bother opening that. That was small. You can see they're not building the foundation. That's bigger. Nope, nothing going on there. This is how you can tell when by looking at less than 2 square inches of the colony, the top of the colony. Not much going on in here, but what's going on down here? Is there anything happening? Yeah. Okay, so we'll just top up the feeders and let them get on with it. There's no other work needed to be done on these for this week. So we'll top these up and let them get on with it. So this time of year we're just waiting, just going to sustain them, help them build the comb that they can do. So we've got we'll give them another 10 gallons of sugar syrup here, and that should keep them going for, oh, they'll run out of it before I come back next week with more, but that'll keep the brood chambers developing and keep the comb getting built. I'm Peter Cowan, the Bee Whisperer. See you next time.